The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of Spaced Out Radio or Spaced Out Radio Limited is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised.
Bumblefoot. Bumblefoot.
Are you experienced?
Stop right there!
From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you, listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
They let us play with all our toys. They let us think that we're big boys. They let us make the louder noise, but we ain't rule the world. They let us think we're Superman.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on iTunes and TuneIn. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. For you. I will stop till I reach the top just to be there with you.
Dave, oh Dave, are you playing with Bigfoot and aliens again?
Dad, you gotta stop haunting the ghost. It's scaring them.
All right, seriously, put down the pointy sticks.
Oh, the deeper I fall.
Okay! Game on! Game on! Game on!
The password is...
All right.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio. Mr. Bumblefoot, Dave is ready for liftoff.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you.
Seriously, Dave? Really? Aren't you a little old for a tinfoil hat?
Hello, Toby. Bye-bye. Love you. Bye-bye.
Please take your seat above us. We're with you. It's time to pick up. Start. 2, 1. Boost ignition and lift off.
I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall. The deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to a new week of Space Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott, and it's great to have you along for the ride on this Monday, December 13th, Tuesday, December 14th. If you're on the East Coast or across the pond, hope you had a great day and night. We are live right here in the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, here for you 7 days a week. We welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Union, Georgia, home of the Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and over 160 countries around the world. Great to have you with us as well. We're also live on the Fringe.fm, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Like our music, get your horns up for Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy and Sons of Apollo. Bumblefoot is the official music of this show. Now, we're all over social media. You can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. So you go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Please subscribe to that channel. We would appreciate it. We're also on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download and subscribe to our shows from iTunes. Our website, when it is up and running, which should be the next couple of days, is spacedoutradio.com. And if you head over to GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. We're doing a crowdfunding right now. It's amazing the support we've had already, but we would love it if you could help support us as we are looking to expand our studios here in SOR HQ. Now, we have 2 chat rooms for you to take part in if you want to talk with tonight's guest and me. You can either be signed in to the chat room on Spreaker or on Facebook in the SOR Space Travelers group. Or if you're on Twitter, be like Deb, Michelle, Graviton, Dennis, and fill out hashtag Spaced Out Radio. We will connect with you there as well. Now, when our website is running, we do have a plethora of features for you, but I'm going to skip all that because our new look website will be coming either as early as tomorrow or on Wednesday. I'm very excited about it. Finally getting over this hacking incident of a week ago. I'd be very happy to get our website back up, but you know what? Tim Doyle tells me it's going to look absolutely great. Crop circles. What are they? Are they pieces of art graced to us by our imaginations from Mother Earth? Or 2 old dudes from England who get drunk and tie wooden boards to their feet and go stomp corn or wheat fields in the middle of the night? Or is there something more out of this world to them? For centuries, people like our guest, Patty Greer, have been trying to figure out these beautiful patterns that sitting in fields are all over the world. Are they alien markers? How about mathematical or physics equations? Or what about some sort of navigation marker? Could that be possible? Patty Greer has been studying this phenomenon for decades. She's traveled all over the world conducting research. She's stood in the middle of these odd yet beautiful pieces of art. Patty has spoken all over the world as well about aliens and the crop circle phenomenon, also filming 8 full feature films in the last decade. She is a busy lady, but to me, she is probably one of the best, if not the best, when it comes to deciphering what crop circles really are. Patty Greer, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for your first time. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you? Patty, are you there? Because I see we're connected.
Good.
There you are. There
Good
you are.
evening.
I thought the aliens got you right off the bat.
I was graciously muted and forgot, but hello, Canada and the rest of the world.
Well, we appreciate that, but I'll let you know that about 70% of our audience is in your beautiful country of the United States, so we're spread all over the place here, but thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're very busy. I know you don't have a lot of time, so for you to make time for our audience tonight of 150,000 strong, we really do appreciate it.
Well, great. You know, I think that we are in a time where truthful UFO information has never been more important. And from everything I'm seeing, we are being pumped some of the worst crap that's ever happened in human history as far as politics, banking, and everything else. But ufology, they say, is at the top of the list of what they're really trying to hide in the last bunch of years. So we are on the precipice of huge change. And try telling the truth about UFOs in the last 10 years. Give me a break. I had no idea it would be like this. Hard times, hacking,
I know.
when you tell the truth, yeah.
I know. We're living it right now. We're living the hacking dream with our website going down last week. It hasn't been pretty, but we're getting it rebuilt, and you know what? You know, it's amazing how people in this field are always trying to get silence, whether it's by going to websites or taking on people's personal opinions. It doesn't seem to matter.
Well, you know, I think that I've been through so much of it in the last few years that, thank God, I made the choice to step over it. Kind of like a pile that a dog left on the sidewalk. I literally, finally stepped over it. And I am moving into a whole different chapter, which is more about solutions and using all these tools, all these things I've learned, all the technologies happening in crop circles are really why they're happening. And it took 8 movies. It took 7. And it wasn't until I was producing the 8th that I learned the entire science, which nobody's ever talked about before because it has been so successfully suppressed. Mind-boggling.
How did you get into the crop circle field? What made you feel that this was something you needed to look into more?
I certainly never studied them. I was certainly never into UFOs. This was not on my bucket list, making movies. Nothing of the kind. But I was dealing with a very difficult case of mercury poisoning from dirty silver fillings, brand new ones, of course, but they're full of mercury. So to me, it's not what I asked for. I paid for white porcelain and woke up with a mouthful of new mercury fillings. So it was pretty shocking, but it was so shocking, and then I couldn't heal myself with American doctors or healers or this or that. I tried everything, and it hit me pretty hard. So in my desperation to heal, I was so desperate, Dave, that I went to England and laid in a crop circle. So how's that for a sweet, sour punchline? I tease when I say so desperate, but it took that. It took being really desperate to heal, giving up on doctors after years of trying everything, and I went and laid in a crop circle. It didn't heal me, and I've laid in more than 100 now. You said stood in the center, but I don't stand. I actually lay down, close my eyes, and take a lot of time.
Okay, I have to ask why you do that. Is it a very spiritual feeling being in the center of some of these crop circles?
You know, it's the darndest thing as I look back now, because I haven't been since 2014, and I don't really need to go back. I don't need more at this point. But when I think of how it was, everything was really intuitive. It was really almost like autopilot. And walking into these tram lines, you're walking into a big, huge field that's all even, wheat, corn, barley, whatever it is, and you can't see where it dips down. Unless you're up on a hill looking down, then of course you can see the formation where it is. Oh, good, it's over there. And you can count the tractor tire lines, we call them the tram lines, and you can see, I'll count 5 tram lines over and just head in, because I can, from the hill. But if you're on a flat piece of property, you have no idea where this thing is. And I don't really like to not be the first one in the formation, but it sure is nice when somebody gets there before you and you can see a bobbing head, over there in the wheat, because they're very hard to find. So it's an interesting process to get directions. And over there in England, as an American, I'm driving on the opposite side of the road, sitting on the opposite side of the car, doing roundabouts to get to crop circles. And it's a challenge, is a polite way to say it, but, small price. Everything, small price, because once you get there, it's breathtaking. So you're walking in these tram lines blindly, but for me, and most of the people I went with, about 10 or 20 feet before you hit the formation, the hair starts to stand up on your arms. And for a woman, myself, teeny little hairs, but all of a sudden it was like goosebumps head to toe, tingles on the top of my head, and every little hair is standing up, back of my neck. You know that feeling when it's almost like the blood goes down to your hands? You know, when it's just like, it took over my whole body. And I could tell that I was stepping into some kind of an enhanced, frankly, it was an electromagnetic field, but you could feel it. And I turned around to the couple people behind me, and they had huge eyes. They were looking at the hairs on their arms, and we were all just nodding like, holy crap. This is amazing, because it was all of us, all three of us, it was our first crop circle. So we just kept walking really slow, and then bang, there it is before your eyes. And it is so pristine, so meticulous. And I would get there early in the morning, and it was just like, zzz, oh, God, it was great. And I'm not talking about the ones that two old guys made with boards and ropes. I'm talking about one of the many real crop circles where the hair stands up on your arms, and the field is definitely enhanced. But then you see these walls of perfectly clean wheat standing up, and then everything from there forward is swirled down like one movement into a circle. They are so clean when you get there before a lot of people have walked on it. And like I said, the zzz, your hair is still standing up on your arms.
I was going to ask you about that, of what it feels like, because for a lot of people, they don't understand the energy behind the entire paranormal or supernatural field. And to hear that you, going into a crop circle for the first time, before you even entered it, you were feeling what it was like. Could you describe that feeling for us? Is it almost euphoric? Is it intense? How does it feel when you're about to enter one of these hieroglyphs, if we can call it that?
Well, again, you're in an umbrella. When you can feel it before you can see it, then it's an umbrella that goes beyond the perimeter of the formation, of the pattern. So yeah, it's really strong. It's really intense. When I turned around to the people behind me, they were like nodding. So it wasn't just me. It wasn't my imagination. But the physical feeling, to actually get tingles head to toe, that's phenomenal. And it affects you because it is so not only visible, but it's also tactile. And, you know, when I turned around, the last man I took in the crop circles as a boyfriend, when I turned around, he had long hair on his arms. And he was like, I'm not going to pretend anything, you know, I'll come with you. And I was like, honey, no problem. So as soon as we hit that umbrella where I felt that strong, enhanced electromagnetic field, I turned around and his eyes were watermelons. And his arm was in front of himself looking at the hair standing up. He was stunned, and he goes, okay, you win. So, you know, even if you're somewhat skeptical, most people will still feel it and be physically affected. And then when you get inside it, for me, again, autopilot. Every time I'd get to I'd call it the doorway, but there's no door. It's just the wheat all of a sudden is laid down, and you can step into it because there's an opening. But every time I'd hit the opening, I think it was autopilot, it was telepathic, it was intuitive, whatever it wasn't something I could say I planned. I would bow. Right there at the opening, I would always double over and just bow with respect. It was so impressive to see these megaglyphs. And then step carefully in, and I'd walk around the perimeter, and then I'd always end up in the center. And I told people when we were at the car, if I go with you, I'm really glad we're here. This is going to be great. I will talk to you when I'm outside the formation when we're done. Until then, have a good day. So people knew I don't talk when I'm in there basically most of the time. And I'd go straight to the center and lay down, close my eyes. But a lot of the time I'd literally just go alone. We had this awesome research center first thing in the morning where those of us that were serious, they called us the front line. We were people from all different countries. We'd get to the research center early in the morning, and it was called the Silent Circle. And he'd open at like 9. Very quirky guy, very unusual. And of all the people I met in Wiltshire, England, which is the epicenter, I'd say the guy that owned the research center was the closest that looked like an alien to any of them. Charles, just totally out there. But he served the community for many years, and the research center was where we could get coffee and cakes and sit and chat with other crappies and researchers and filmmakers and book writers and lecturers, and we'd kind of whisper what happened last night, while we slept. Well, there's a new one over at Alton Barnes. Oh, there's another one over at Golden Ball Hill. So we would swap stories about what we just saw, what the pilots just reported, what the helicopters just called in, and we'd head out. And sometimes there'd be 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars, but we didn't go with a lot of people. We kept it small, but it was really nice to have a place where we could go first thing in the morning, and there was a map on the wall with red push pins of where the crop circles were located. And the guy that owned the research center had connections to all the pilots in the area that would do early morning flights and report back. Because we then would book those pilots to fly us around so that we could film or take photos and explore the crop circles from the air. And that was about 80 pounds for a half hour, and a pound at that time was $2.11. So it was expensive to make my movies, but small price. I got to see the crop circles up close and from the air, and they're just absolutely remarkable. I want to suggest that people be looking at crop circles during the show. My website is full of image libraries, archive libraries of just my favorite crop circles inside and out. And my website is cropcirclefilms.com. You can go to any page on my website, cropcirclefilms.com, and huge photos. They're just beautiful, because if you can look at them while we're talking about it, you'll appreciate them so much more. Have you taken the time to look at them, Dave?
I sure have. And they are absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, these are pieces of art. I don't really understand how they are created or what would even, constitute making these, because I mean, for so many people out there, I try and have a skeptical mind too with everything, but I just don't know how to be skeptical with this besides, the old guys in England who were saying they've been doing this for years. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Well, the punchline of the show, you'll be pretty blown away, because I will tell you how they're made. We did figure it out. And when I say we did figure it out, I'm talking about the only scientist in the world that was working on plants and soil in his lab since the 1950s. Fantastic scientist named William Levengood. And he discovered crop circles in the 1980s. And from the moment he put a sample of a crop circle, the seeds and the nodes, which is where the wheat bends, like an elbow or a support, when he first discovered the biophysical anomalies in the crop circles, that was it. He just took a left turn, and it was all he did until the day he died. He was really focused on crop circles. So he received hundreds and hundreds of samples, bundles of samples of crop circles from America, from Europe, from Wiltshire, England, of course, the epicenter, but other places also, and did all these comparatives. So I want to talk about Wiltshire because it appears to be the epicenter where more crop circles have been dropped than anywhere else on Earth. I shouldn't say been dropped, because they're not being dropped. Have been delivered, have appeared, have been documented is the most important word, because what if? There's far more in Oklahoma, but nobody took a picture or reported it. It's possible. So as far as the epicenter, it's the most that have been documented by far, probably 50%, is this 40-mile square radius, including the Avebury Stone Circle in the center, Stonehenge off to the east, and Glastonbury off to the west. So this whole area is this beautiful ancient landscape laced with sacred sites and burial mounds and ancient churches. And so it's drawn the Druid and the spiritual groups who have pilgrimaged across Europe for hundreds of years, thousands of years. They claim 6,000 to 7,000 to Stonehenge and to Avebury. And everybody knows Stonehenge, but few people know Avebury, which is actually older and larger than Stonehenge. Have you ever heard of Avebury?
No, I honestly haven't.
It's a stone circle that sits in the epicenter, and that area is just splattered with crop circles. So these pilots, there's a couple of them that have their little airports there, and they fly you around in either a microlight, which really bounce in the wind, or the helicopters, which are far more smooth. And the price, though, is like double or triple for the helis. So I flew in microlights. But I flew a lot. And I was the crazy American where when there was a few people waiting and it was windy or rainy, most people don't want to fly. They'll wait till tomorrow or the next day. But I'm the American. I'm only there 9 weeks. So every day, every hour, I'm like, if I want to fly, if there's a new crop circle, I'm going out. I don't care what the weather's like, as long as the pilot will go. These guys have done it for years. They know what they're doing. So I was the crazy American when he'd say, does anybody want to fly? It's pretty windy up there. Everybody'd look around. I'd raise my hand. So off we'd go, and I'd come back so green and queasy sometimes, but I got the shot. So it's been kind of a time where the mercury poisoning of all things, it really served me because something in it did a strange thing to my personality. And while I was over there peaking on poison, I was completely fearless, absolutely out of my mind fearless. And so now I'm getting in these little planes, and the pilot says to me, door on or door off. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, well, you've got a camera. Most of the professionals don't want a door on their side. I said, how far are we flying? And he goes, 2,000 to 3,000 feet. I said, no door? What do you mean? He goes, well, you can have it on or off. I was like, okay. And it was my first time. I was just like, okay, like, please don't drop me. And so I'm looking around for the halter. Dave, there was a seat belt like a friggin' man's belt. There was like no halter, no real seat belt. And I'm like, where's the halter? Where's the tie downs for my body if we're doing this with no door? And he just looks at me and he goes, you've got it on. I mean, feeble. So friggin' feeble. And off we went. So I flew dozens of times and produced 8 movies, no training, absolutely didn't plan any of this, but spent years, 2006, 7, 8, and I was so marked in 2008. I filmed 3 movies, didn't know what I was doing, but I was everywhere, in every formation with a big camera on a tripod, and I was definitely marked. I started getting very uncomfortable conversations from men saying they were going to get me pulled, stopped at the airport. And I was so glad when I landed in America at the end of 2008. I was really, the only time I'd ever say I was scared was when they were threatening to, they didn't want me bringing the footage home. So I skipped 2009 for that reason, went back in 2010 and 11, and 14 with cameras and filmed, and man, I've got footage. So it's interesting now, here I am 10 years later, and all that raw footage, I was so green. I had no idea what I would look for today. So now I'm going to start pulling out all the old footage and take another look-see and listen to all those interviews, because I interviewed all the great old guys at the International UFO Congress Convention in 2008, and half of them are passed away. And to me, those were the real ufologists, the elders. I think today we've got a bunch of actors and my lab guys that have come of age. Are you noticing this?
Well, I've noticed that it seems like every time someone comes on the scene, a.k.a. Tom DeLonge being the latest one, that there's always seems to be an agenda that follows everything now.
Right. Well, how about the Corey and David circus? I'm sorry, but millions in advertising, and I'm looking at this like we're in a really strange time. David introduced Corey at the Conscious Life Expo as being in my lab since he was 6 years old. So what he was clearly saying to everybody this year, January, was that Corey is a mind-controlled person. Now, I don't hold anything against Corey. I feel bad for him. But what we have here is admitted, like, you know, the most famous. And it's like, famous for what? They're mind-controlled. This is not what humans need right now. What we need is experience and honesty about UFOs, not programmed material, and certainly not puppet masters playing games. So I think it's the reason why I've been hacked so badly is because I don't share misinformation. I did not do any research on crop circles, thank God, because Uncle Lawrence Rockefeller funded a couple people to get out there and lie about all of it. And they're still out there lying about all of it. But fortunately, I didn't listen to any of their stuff or read their books. I came in green. I knew nothing. So I just went and experienced the crop circles and hung out with a lot of the people that were there regularly. And one of my favorites, who's in a lot of my films, is Janet Osebard from the Netherlands. And she and Bert Janssen together have been in the crop circles for 23 years. Do you know how great it was back then? Oh my God, crop circles in the 80s and 90s. If you look at the transformation, the evolution, the photos have become, in the 80s and 90s, they were really exorbitant and intricate and elaborative. Whereas, you know, every now and then you get simple, but most of the time it's quite a message. And sometimes there are even mathematical equations, such as we had a Mandelbrot crop circle. They can't do that in the dark in 3 hours. The thing was huge. We've had Fibonacci sequence, beautiful Fibonacci crop circles, sometimes a single, sometimes a triple. And then do you remember that unbelievable spiral spin of Fibonacci sequences, and it totaled 409 circles?
Yes, I do remember looking at that one.
Oh, so incredible. It's on the cover of my first movie, The Wake Up Call. Anybody listening? ? That particular crop circle happened in southern England, in Wiltshire, and my friend Charles said he was there at the crack of dawn, because the pilots call him. He owns the research center that closed in 2016 for whatever reason. And he walked the entire perimeter first thing in the morning. It had rained all night when that baby came down or came up. And he said there wasn't a footprint anywhere. 409 perfect circles that weren't there the day before.
Patty, why are so many people disregarding these incredible pieces of art? Because from looking at your photos and from what I have studied in the past, I mean, pilots, people driving, whatever it may be, would be able to see one of these being created, yet we never hear from the people who are so-called seeing these being created in action. If there's pilots flying all over England, if we're concentrating on England for a second, they're going to notice somebody flattening their dirt or their wheat or their corn, whatever it may be, and yet we never seem to have those people come out and say, yeah, these guys spent 2 weeks in my cornfield, to make this perfectly symmetrical piece of art. It just doesn't make sense.
Sometimes they do work with the human teams. Sometimes they do let people use their field and hire them to do an ad where they use a human team. So, yeah, that does happen, but most crop circles happen in the 3 hours of darkness in the middle of summer while nobody's looking. So most of the time they happen at night, but a very amazing one happened during the day that we know about, and I have a friend who went to it. This one was very famous. Again, the Fibonacci sequence, mathematical formula, where it's small and then it gets bigger and then it gets back small again. And it's, this, again, perfect mathematic formula, sacred geometry. So my friend is a tour guide, and she's taking people in the crop circles. And then on one day, they go to Stonehenge. So they're walking around Stonehenge with her group, and all of a sudden, she gets a call on her phone that there was a report of a brand new crop circle middle of the day right across the street from Stonehenge. It was just reported. So she grabs her group and she says, I think it's true. We're going to quietly leave Stonehenge, go across the highway, and 10 of them went into this field. And sure enough, they could see down the hill that there was a brand new crop circle, and it was the triple Fibonacci sequence. They titled it the Julia set at Stonehenge. So the story was that a pilot was flying a scientist to Stonehenge to do some measurements, and he flew the same track in as he would return home in the plane. So they flew in, the field was empty. They circled Stonehenge a few times, which you have to have permission to even fly over Stonehenge because they limit flights, thank God. So this guy got permission, and they were circling Stonehenge, and then when they came back within 15 minutes, the crop circle was there. And they both absolutely said it wasn't there 15 minutes ago, broad daylight, right across the street, with hundreds, if not thousands of people at Stonehenge during the day. So my friend Patricia Corey from Italy grabs her group, and she goes into this crop circle, the Triple Julia set. And she said, and it's an amazing story, that they sat down, and after a few minutes, somebody said something, and they started to laugh. And then they continued to laugh, and they were all laughing. 3 hours later, they were hurting, and they finally stopped laughing after 3 hours.
Has anybody witnessed any lights or anomalies happening when these crop circles are supposedly being laid in the middle of the night?
Okay, now we're moving into a little more graduate course here. Yes, of course. And the only famous footage of balls of light laying a crop circle down is called the Oliver's Castle footage from 1996. Have you seen it where the two balls of light lay a crop circle down?
Yes, I have.
Well, it was interesting because I was talking to Janet Osabard today, and I said I, beyond a shadow of a doubt, prove that is real footage. And I found a binary code between the two balls of light just before they laid the field down. How I found it? Complete telepathy. I wasn't looking, I wasn't doing math, and there was a witness. I was editing my first film. Janet Osabard and Bert Janssen from the Netherlands had given me permission to use that footage, which was the final clip in their movie, and I stuck it in the final clip as mine, in my film. And so I couldn't believe it. I made a movie. I hired this kid on Craigslist. I had hired a crew in England to film all my friends and I in the crop circles at the end of the 9 weeks. I didn't know how to hold a camera. I just hired a crew. I didn't know what I was doing. Why am I hiring a crew? I don't make movies, but I did. I was so blown away. I just had to share it with my friends and family back home. Little did I know I was going to start making movies. So I bring this footage home. I hire this kid, like I said. We lay out 77 minutes of the most beautiful footage of all these crop circles in Wiltshire and the countryside getting there. And I'm laying on my back filming the tree tunnel that, you drive through to get there. Oh, just so beautiful. And again, very Druid. All the people are in like cloaks, and a lot of the guys carry swords in a sword case. And legally, to carry it on the street, they have to have a lock on it. I mean, interesting that they can carry a sword on the street in a case, and many of them do. So it's like you're definitely in another country. You're definitely almost feeling like you're in a different era of time in this area. And their homes are not spot clean like we do in America. They're kind of casual, spider webs, and really happy spiders. And their cars are not washed like we do in America, but their gardens are huge, and they grow fantastic flowers and fruit. So, different priority over there. Theirs is the land. Theirs is also the land that is laced with sacred sites. So here we have this ancient land laced with sacred sites where there's more crop circles than anywhere else on Earth. And at the research center, we're looking at a map where there's a push pin of every location of every crop circle. And we're going, okay, 96 or 7% are sitting over an aquifer of water of all the crop circles in the world. And we're looking at, decades. Almost all of them are sitting over an aquifer of water. So now we know water is an element below crop circles. We also noted that 96 or 7% of them were sitting directly on a ley line, which is a line between two sacred sites. And then as we looked at the official ley line map, we realized that the two most powerful ley lines of the planet are the Michael and Mary lines. And they cross in two places on Earth. One is the very edge of the Avebury Stone Circle. So now we've got it clocked. We've got this area because of heavy sacred sites and water. So that's where I would go. And once I went to Italy, but boy, did I come back to England quickly, because in Italy the crop circles were dry. There weren't people there. They weren't attended. It was nothing compared to England. I flew home as quick as I could, got back in my B&B, because when you go up in a microlight in July or early August, there's like 10 crop circles to see. You can, for an hour, you can pay the pilot for an hour and you can see a whole bunch in one area. Very rarely do people pay the pilot to go see one crop circle if it's more than 10 minutes away? And most people didn't even drive to see the ones that weren't right there in Wiltshire because there were so many so close. Oh, God, it was great. Absolutely great.
How are you able to differentiate between what is real and what is fake when it comes to the crop circles?
It's very easy. The fake ones, which means two guys with boards and ropes, or a gang, or a team, or women, or, people with boards and ropes out there in the field to lay them down. If they're doing that, the board is 3 feet across, there's a hole on each end, the rope goes through, they tie it in a knot, and then they hold the rope with their hands, they stomp down on it, they move forward 3 feet, lift the board up, and then they stomp down on it again. So every few feet, for 3 feet across, you're going to bend down on, look when you get in the crop circles, you'll see broken wheat. A hard board with a stiff corner is going to break the wheat to lay it down. So whenever we go into crop circles, I, for some reason, float straight to the center, but the guys that I would go with are always immediately down, looking, digging, clawing to see, are the nodes where the wheat bends, are they bent or broken? If they're broken, it's a human-made crop circle, but if they're not broken, it's something else. So now we start looking at the bend of the wheat, which is called the node, or the support, the node. When they're real crop circles, not broken, where it bends, you will see biophysical evidence of something that changed the structure of the node. So they're blown out like bubbles. Some of them have a burn hole where the steam escaped, so there was some heat involved. Some of them stretched like half an inch, 3/4 of an inch. Those are called elongated nodes. These are all biophysical changes that you cannot duplicate. And they tried. They tried many times to duplicate elongated and blown nodes in the lab, and they couldn't do it. They tried in a microwave, but it just blew up the plant. It didn't change the node. So now we've got acres of laid wheat or corn, and corn. Now that's a big stalk to bend. And the corn that is bent is really phenomenal because those things are an inch around, and now you've got thousands of them curled and bent over. Mind-boggling, the corn, because it's so big and thick and heavy. Then you've got the wheat or the barley, which are far more graceful. And as you look at these beautiful blown nodes, I mean, we're always, cutting them and sticking them in the windshield of the car. And I have a couple of glass bottles of bent and blown and elongated nodes here at the house where I live. So, as you look at it, you know that something has hit this that is not of this world or not something that we can create here. That's when you know you've got a real crop circle. So they took these nodes to the lab, and they're trying to figure out what could cause these nodes to bubble. And they realized that the inside of any plant is liquid. And the plant itself, they said, is cellulose, which is a relative of plastic. And so that if you put boiling water on it, you're going to reshape it. It will melt it and probably destroy it. But somehow, when crop circles are created, the wheat continues to grow. The crop, whatever it is, continues to grow. That's how you know you have a real crop circle. With the human crop circles, they're broken for 3 feet across every few feet, and they die. They do not continue to grow. So there's a very big difference, plus the buzz. Woo! Can't deny that.
How long does it take a forgery to be made when these gentlemen or these people go out into the field to create a man-made crop circle?
Do you know? I have no idea. I've never even talked to those people. So I don't know the answer to that. But I do want to go back to the most amazing thing that you asked me earlier, which is those balls of light. I want to talk about those balls of light because that is what's making crop circles. So the balls of light, it turns out, are not coming out of the sky. The balls of light, William Levengood discovered in his lab that they're coming out of the earth. They're spinning plasma vortices coming out of the earth, creating crop circles. Crop circles are not coming out of the sky, and the real ones are certainly not made by humans with boards and ropes. This is actually not some wackadoodle UFO phenomenon. This is a truly proven earth science. Crop circles are absolutely real, and they're coming out of the earth in counter-rotating vortices from the mother, from the earth herself, with intention, and that's why you see a written message.
So
how's that for a truth bomb?
Well, I think it's fantastic because I think there's so many people, you either fall on one side of the ledger or you fall on the other side, Patty. I tend to believe that there is something mystic to this, and I think the majority of people out there also believe that as well. But in the end, we still can't figure out what they are or whom they are being caused by or created by. Do you think it has something to do with Earth's magnetic pull? To me, that doesn't make sense because of the way the patterns are formed. I don't see Mother Earth being that artistic.
Well, she's not the only one involved here but I think she is that artistic. I mean, look at the trees she grows. We grow hair. She grows trees and plants. She grows forests. She grew mountains. I mean, I don't think that this is make-believe that the Earth is a living being. And I would never claim it's some alien species from the inner Earth making crop circles. I think it's the Earth herself, and she is a living being. And when we look at what humanity has done to her in the last few centuries, I mean, my God, look at us today. We're fracking. We're drilling, we're dropping chemtrails, killing the forests, poisoning the water, GMO the food. I'm surprised she hasn't sucked us down in a sinkhole and shaken us all off with a couple of earthquakes. I mean, we're so disrespectful to the planet, and I believe that in her good nature, that's a pun, she has been sending us these crop circles for eons in combination with the water, in combination with multidimensionals now and then. If perhaps an alien race was flying over the planet, and again, this is just a possibility, but I think it's true. If a race of ETs was flying over and they were lost and they needed directions, they would perhaps ask the Earth, do you know where Jupiter is? And she would lay down a crop circle pointing due east. If some humans were sitting praying at the Avery Stone Circle, which did happen, and sitting there with their technical team creating a quantum energy, free energy device, and they were sitting there asking for a confirmation the very next day, I met them in a crop circle and I saw they had two printed photos. One was their device, the other was the crop circle from the air, which was a schematic of their device. So what we have here is an example of human consciousness was also an element that helped to make that crop circle. So Lefty, William Levengood, and his real partner for the last 16 years of his life, her name was Penny Kelly. She and Lefty discovered by measuring the magnetics and the magnetic field around the plant samples that they brought from crop circles, measuring the energetics in the center, the magnetics 5 feet out, 10, 15, 20, 25, and they found that, really surprised me, that the frequencies were higher on the outside of the circle. Why I would lay in the center, I don't know, it's what I did, but they said that the energies were actually hotter and higher on the outside of the formation. But they also proved that it was in fact plasma spinning vortices, and that these vortexes, the vortices, were counter-rotating, coming out in pairs, and they were divided into distinct, different frequencies with distinct boundary conditions that separated them. So always earth energies, always water energies, sometimes human consciousness, not always, sometimes other dimensionals, ETs, elementals, but not always, but always the earth and the water. So this is who's making crop circles. It's all of us. All of us are always invited to be a part of this co-creation, but they're always coming out of the earth, and they're always coming through water. So this is a really interesting Earth phenomenon that then lays down into a pictogram for all of us to see. But also anything or anyone flying over would see it. So it's not only a message to us in airplanes or us driving by or us walking through the field, but it's also a message for the ETs, other dimensionals, elementals. So again, this co-creation is a communication that can be from all of us and that is also for all of us. The earth to speak to us, the water to receive the messages from the earth, and those frequencies go out into all the tributaries, into the waters of earth. So whatever the earth is speaking, her intention, the initial intention, sometimes woven with human consciousness, please give us a confirmation. And bang, the earth says, okay, here it is. Bang, there's your crop circle. And the humans are like, oh my God. But it's not just any human. It appears to me, because I've done 3 in the movies, that they're croppies. They're people that work with the crop circles. And Janet Osebart and Bert Janssen from the Netherlands received a crop circle with 5 people. They sat at a pub. They had a photo of a Celtic cross tile that they saw in a church. And they put the photo in the center, and they all looked at it, 5 Celtic crosses in a diagonal. And 2 days later, bang, there it was in a crop circle.
Wow. Patty, I'm going to get you to hold on because we are going to go to break here momentarily. Patty Greer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are getting into crop circles. Patty's going to be with us for 1 more hour. Then in hour number 3, our resident scientist, Eric Markham, the preacher, is going to join us in hour number 3. We're going to continue with your questions and your thoughts right after this, as well as learning more from Patty during the next hour as well. I do want to remind you, if you want to check out her website, cropcirclefilms.com. Very simple. cropcirclefilms.com. You got to click on crop circles, say that fast 3 times, and check out the photos. It's amazing. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, space travelers, it's Joe Roop, your host of Spaced Out Saturdays. Come join me as we explore the realms of the paranormal, the esoteric, and everything in between every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. You know the truth is out there. Don't get caught sleepwalking. Come join Spaced Out Saturdays. That's every Saturday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, right here on spacedoutradio.com.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at spacedoutradio.com, I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience. Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every 3rd Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. at spacedoutradio.com. The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spacedoutradio.com and encounter the Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over Spaced Out Radio Night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
There's a lot of strange going on in this world, and we can help you find out what's going on with you. Paranormal, cryptids, UFOs in the sky, aliens in your bedroom tickling your toes. We have the investigators you need to find out the answers you deserve. All you have to do is head to spacedoutradio.com. Your information is 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report. It's free, and we're here to help.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our Advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to be with you on this Monday night. Tomorrow night on the program, John Edmonds is going to join us. You may know about him from his alien ranch called the Stardust Ranch down in Arizona. We're going to find out what's going on down there and see if he's got any offers on that $5 million he has it up for sale for. 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, we get going. If our website is up, it'll be running at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Newnan, Georgia, home of the Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans, and over 160 countries around the world. Great to have you with us. We are also live on the Fringe.fm, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tragemadopolist. Tragemadopolist is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with me during the show as well. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also join us for live chat on Facebook in the SOR Space Travelers group. We're on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. You can also follow us on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. You can subscribe to that. We'd appreciate if you did. And we're on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website, when it's up and running, is spacedoutradio.com, where we usually have a plethora of features for you. However, we're rebuilding the site due to last week's hacking incident, so it should be up and running either tomorrow or on Wednesday, where we can start promoting all the plethora of features for you. Tonight, for one more hour, we are talking with Patty Greer. Her website is cropcirclefilms.com, where Patty, for the last number of years, has been investigating what creates these awesome, awesome pieces of art called crop circles. Welcome back, Patty. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Well, in the first hour, we pretty much got into explaining how they're being made, which is that they're coming out of the Earth in counter-rotating vortices of spinning plasma, which are like little tornadoes of spinning plasma frequencies with distinct boundary conditions of different frequencies. So I'm just repeating so that we can move forward. The amazing thing that Lefty and Penny found in the lab, Lefty is William Levengood, the great scientist, who passed away in 2013. For decades, he was working on crop circle samples that people brought him and delivered. They also, Penny and Lefty, were working on pieces of the Roswell craft at Pinelandia Labs, William Levengood's lab in Michigan. So they were doing very important work, but they absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, proved that crop circles are real and that they're an Earth phenomenon, not some woo-woo thing that they've been made out to be. Now, why all the suppression about crop circles? Number one, in my opinion, is the fact that of all the UFO different phenomenon, crop circles leave more physical evidence than any other UFO subject on Earth. Right?
I believe so. Do you believe that they are alien-made?
Well, we just talked about it. No. They're coming out of the Earth. So they're Earth-made, water-made. Sometimes aliens are added to the messaging, but it's the Earth sending up these messages for eons. And I don't think, again, my mind is now pretty cemented on this because I spent my first 7 movies and 9 years in the crop circles, woo-woo, woo-woo, woo-woo. I don't know what it is. And then Lefty dies in 2013. He friggin' gave up on humans. He just got sick of us because we're just not evolving. And basically, he was such a scientist, he didn't want to come out of his lab anyway. But what he and Penny did that was so beyond phenomenal was they recreated those spinning plasma vortices into a machine in the lab, and it worked. Why would they do this? Here's the huge punchline of why they're hiding crop circles. The seeds inside crop circles grow 30 to 400% more food and biofuel per plant, with up to 75% more nutrition per seed. They tested the plants when conditions were too hot, too cold, too wet, and too dry, and those seeds survived. They became super seeds.
I want to get
Bob
to
drop. I mean, isn't that huge?
It is huge. It's very huge.
This could make an enormous difference in bringing back the food supply once we get rid of Monsanto Bayer. I mean, it's got to be stopped. You can't keep poisoning the food and water unless I don't think humanity's done. I really, really believe that we are coming back. We are going to outgrow these maggot problems of bad humans punishing humanity with the food supply. But when we get that chapter over, we're going to need to work hard and fast to bring the seeds back. And this is one of the technologies, which is spinning plasma vortices. So Lefty, William Levengood, re-engineered a machine in his lab that recreated crop circle spinning plasma, and it worked. And they tested it again, and it worked. So what we have now is this technology, but Lefty died, and a girl inherited the property that didn't really care about much, is a nice way to say it. So for the last few years, I've been trying to get the machine. I've seen it. I know what it does. I know what it looks like. Penny knows how to make it. Penny Kelly, who is, she and I are what make Crop Circle Diaries, my final film of crop circles, I'm pretty sure. It's my 8th movie. It just received the Best UFO Feature Film of the Year and the People's Choice EB Awards at the International UFO Congress about 6 months ago, which is the biggest UFO film festival in the world. So I just received these 2 fantastic EB Awards for Crop Circle Diaries, which is me and Penny Kelly telling the truth about crop circles. And what did I get? I got hacked. I got hacked so badly once that movie came out. And now that it's received awards, what did I get? I came home and my house got hit with an energy weapon attack, and I had to move out. I mean, I have been dealing with stuff that I wouldn't wish on anyone. And I'm a girl. And I didn't come into this to go to war with the cabal, but it has been a real surprise for me. And, thank God, I finally stepped over the pile, like I started talking about in the beginning, and now I'm focused on solutions. Not only am I basically ignoring all the hacking because it's so beyond massive, that I actually attracted, like the law of attraction, I attracted because Lefty got so sick of, I'm sure, because he's here in spirit, watching what I'm going through with this. They blew up a lab editing my film last year, 6 months ago. They blew up a lab, and the guy lost his entire mainframe. He had to take his whole system apart and send the platters out, which luckily repaired. But then he said to me, I don't know what it was that hit the lab, his editing lab, but they came back and hit it again, and it deleted 5 hard drives clean out of hundreds. 2 of them were yours. Yeah, I'm dealing with it. So the most amazing thing is I know Lefty's here with us because he's watching all this go on. He's watching me with 2 swords, and I'm wielding left and right, and I'm bending and tucking, but I'm not relenting. I'm not stopping making movies just because somebody dropped $500,000 last year to hack me. Me, a girl. Come on, innocent crop circle movies, but I guess they're not so innocent because I nailed the technology. Also because I introduced the real crappies. The real people that are knowing what's going on in crop circles. Those of us really communicating with the earth, with the circle makers. So Janet and Bert had their response when they did that 5 people sitting at a pub drinking wine, staring at a photo, and bang, the crop circle showed up. They were really loyal crappies. Yeah, of course it's going to work. So here I am in 2012. I am sitting at my house in Colorado, beautiful lake outside and the mountain peaks and the snow, and a friend comes up to visit, and she says, oh, I have this artist. I want to show you his work. It's really beautiful, very multidimensional. Now, years ago, I didn't bother mentioning that in 2007, I was in a crop circle at the end of 9 weeks. And that was the first full summer that I spent in Wiltshire. And I passed out in a crop circle, and I thought I passed out. When I woke up, I was alone in the crop circle the whole time. But when I woke up, I saw things in the sky I had never seen. My vision was completely different. My hearing was meticulous. I could hear something a mile away. I lay there thinking, why do I feel so different? And I didn't realize until quite a while later that I had been taken in the crop circle that day, August 1st, 2007. And the formation was in a farm called Sugar Hill. Absolutely gorgeous formation. Walked in alone, headed to the center, kind of floated, laid down. Next thing I know, my eyes are open and I'm a different person. And that was the day when my life changed. And 2 years later, I had produced 4 movies by myself about UFOs and crop circles. Don't ask me how, but I did it. So that's how I began making movies.
Normally in hour number 2, I love to get some audience questions in because we are very audience-oriented. Do you mind if I fire you a few?
You bet.
Craig is asking, why do most crop circles seem to be looking like they are counter-rotating?
Well, I just talked about the technology. Counter-rotating vortices coming out of the Earth. Great question, because there you go, physical confirmation of how they're being made.
All right, let's get to BTO's question here. Patty, do you mind sharing your paranormal experience with regards to Dr. Levengood?
Oh, yes. I've never told my personal stories until Crop Circle Diaries. And the only reason I told them in this movie is because I did it with Penny Kelly. Now, Penny Kelly worked with Lefty for 16 years. She knew him, very, very well. He was married. He was happily married. But Penny drove across the entire state of Michigan to work with him. And she did it once or twice a week for very long days, drove back late at night. So I never heard about Penny, nor did I ever read about Lefty, because I was not a researcher. I'm strictly a crop circle experiencer. So after I made these 4 movies, I had no idea, what I was doing. But now I started to go to the International UFO Congress Convention, and my 3rd movie won Best Feature Film. It's called 2012, We're Already in It. And I produced it in 2008. That summer when I accidentally made 3 movies. One of them was that movie, 2012, We're Already in It. And who knew in 2008 all these things that were happening now? They did in England, but they sure did not know in America. So that movie won Best Feature Film. And then my 4th movie, I realized that nobody noticed that I discovered a communication between the 2 balls of light in Oliver's Castle footage. I absolutely know it's real because I found it through a bizarre telepathic communication, and nobody noticed. So I made movie number 4, Crop Circle Update, The Wake Up Call, and I showed that find, that discovery of the binary code between the plasma balls of light 3 times. In the beginning, 5 minutes of the film. I mean, I did it so in your face that you have to notice it's real. These balls of light communicated and then laid the field down, but still nobody noticed. And those 4 fantastic first movies won 5 prestigious awards, and then I got all these distributor offers, and I took 2. I signed with UFO TV, and for 8 years I made 66 pennies a month, and he destroyed my business. And then I signed with Gaiam TV, that had to change their name to Gaia TV for whatever reasons we won't go into. And they took my first 4 films, gave me a small amount of money, and they hid my first 4 films for 10 years. So right now, my first 4 films that won all these awards are locked in the freezer at Gaia TV for 10 years. Truth. Under contract. It said distribution, but it meant suppression. Why did my 2 distributors dishonor me? What is it about crop circles that they would choose to not make money on me? They've been hiding my films 6.5 years of the 10. Can you imagine how much they could have made had they treated me like Corey or David Wilcock? They could have made a fortune on my films. But there's something that's worth more to them than letting my films get out. Whatever it is, it's been a pretty awful pile of years. So, the question again that your person asked was, how did this thing with Lefty happen? So, I never studied Lefty. Couldn't tell you who he was in 2014, even though I had made all these movies. I'd seen a little bit, but I didn't go researching his papers. I didn't know who Penny was because nobody knew who Penny was. Hardly at all, except friends of lefties. A few researchers. So, in 2014, now I've made these movies and I get all these awards, and I was invited to be a speaker at the International UFO Congress. So, 2014, I'm speaking on Valentine's Day about crop circles. Doesn't get a whole lot better for a crappie like me. I was so happy. So, I get a standing ovation. There's 1,200 people, and afterward, really nice response. A woman from Michigan comes up to me that I'd never met, and she said, "You have to speak at my event, and I'll pay you and fly you out, and it's in 3 months." So I said, "Oh, well, okay." And she said, "It's healers and psychics, and they all camp around my backyard, wrapped around a lake, and you can stay in the house, and you'll be the keynote speaker, and then there will be all these healing tents and psychics." So she paid me enough. I said, "Sure, I'll come." But it was interesting. She said, "You have to come." It was a very weird pile of words to line in a row. But I came. So I get to this lady's house, and I'm speaking at this event, and at the end of the first day, a lovely man corners me on these 2 couches. And I'm in one corner, he's on the other. And he says, "Hi, you're the crop circle girl." And I said, "Yes, I am." "Did you see my talk?" "No." I said, "Oh, have you seen my films?" "No." "Well, how'd you know I was the crop circle girl?" He said, "I just know. There's someone you need to meet. Would you be willing to take a drive with me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's going to happen." No. But, I'll ask around who you are, and perhaps tomorrow. His name was Stan. So, nice to meet you, end of day. So the following day, long day, I do my talk, there's healers, and really lovely. And at the end of the night, sure enough, there's Stan sitting at the corner of the couch. And I had asked people, and they said, "Oh, yeah, he's nice. He came with that lady, and he was here last year. People know him." So I took down his license plate because that's who I am, and I gave it to the lady at the house that hired me, and I took off. And we had about a half-hour drive, and we get to this farm in the middle of nowhere, and it's dark. I'm in Michigan, and didn't tell me who she was other than, "You need to meet this woman." So now we're sitting around her round table eating cherries, talking about all these things and UFOs, but we never talked about crop circles. I never knew who she was. Now it's 2 a.m. And I said, "I'm really sorry, but I have to speak tomorrow, and I have to get up early, so you're going to have to take me home, Stan, to the hotel. Very nice to meet you, Penny." So she goes, "Well, let me give you one of my books." And I said, oh, great, let me give you one of my movies. I make crop circle movies. So she hands me a book. I didn't look at the cover that said by Penny Kelly and William Levengood. I just went through the pages, and bang, right there in my face is a crop circle node. And I said, what are crop circle nodes doing in your book? And she looked at Stan and she said, you didn't tell her who I was? I'm standing there, it's 2 a.m. I've been there 4 hours. And he nodded his head, no, I didn't. And I'm like, hey, talk to me. Who are you? What's going on? And she said, I was the real partner of William Levengood for the last 16 years of his life. I'm breathtaking. I'm just like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me when I got here? We could have been talking crop circles. And I look at Stan and I said, why didn't you tell me? And he said, well, I graduated Penny's intuition courses. I just took it for granted. I'm like, you have to invite me back. Oh my God, I really want to talk to you. So Penny said, in a month as Lefty's wake, come back, join us, and you can stay here at the farm. So the Stan takes me back to the hotel. Now it's 2:30 in the morning. Drop me at the front door like a gentleman, and these 2 ladies are standing out in front. One lady smoking a cigarette. The other one is the psychic that runs all the, she's like the head psychic of the event. Brilliant woman. And I'm walking toward the door, and the 2 of them are nodding and laughing, looking at me. And I said, evening, ladies. And the psychic stopped me, and she said, excuse me, who's the lovely man next to you? Tall, thin, goatee, mustache, silver. And I'm looking around for Stan. He was nowhere. And I said, excuse me? She said, there's a tall man with you. He has a message. Can I give it to you? And I'm me. So I'm like, okay. I'm at a UFO event. Why not? So she said, he wants you to know that he orchestrated this and he's really glad it worked. I said, excuse me, I'll be right back. And I ran through the parking lot, jumping up and down, flailing my arms. And luckily, Stan looked in the rearview mirror and backed up. And now I'm panting and I'm leaning in his window. And I said, what did William Levengood look like? He said, tall, silver hair, silver goatee, why? And now I'm really panting. And I said, oh my God, he's here. Those women over there, they just told me blah, blah, blah. And he just stared at me very calmly. I said, I'm freaking out here. Lefty's here. And he just stared at me calmly and he said, yes. I'm not surprised. I took Penny's intuition course and he drove away. That's how I met William Levengood.
That is so odd. Absolutely.
And it begins my film, Crop Circle Diaries, on my website, cropcirclefilms.com. It's the best thing I've ever done. It's also the most honest film that I've ever made because once I sat with Penny for the 3 weeks, I realized that I wasn't imagining any of it, that all the bizarre experiences I had really did happen. So I showed her on camera the photo of 2 plasma balls of light at Oliver's Castle. I didn't tell her what it was. I held up an 8x10 glossy of that moment that I found on film of the binary code between the plasma balls. And I said to her, what is this photo? She looked at it for 3-4 seconds and she said, wow, what a great moment you caught on film of, that's 2 plasma balls communicating in a binary code. Where'd you get that? And I looked at her and I said, I can't believe you said that because that's exactly what it is. I knew it was real. She goes, where'd you get that? And I said, Oliver's Castle footage, 1996. Look what I found. She said, wow, most excellent. That's absolutely what it is. And then I said to her, what are the balls saying? And she looked at it for a minute, and intuitively she said, the left one is saying, I'll do this, and the right one is saying, I'll do that, and boom, the field went down. They each did their job. And that was exactly what I knew the second I found it and laid it at the end of my first movie, The Wake Up Call. Anybody listening? It's also what I laid in the beginning of my fourth movie, Crop Circle Update, The Wake Up Call. And still, Nobody noticed. So today I'm on the phone with Janet Osabart, and I said, do you remember that I did that? And she said, oh, yes, I do. Well, I've also proven without a shadow of a doubt that Oliver's Castle was real. But the interesting thing is that during the course of all these years, there was one man who's still very famous for proving, he said, it was fake. Colin Andrews. And he did it with the Nippon TV team and the, air quote, secret detectives, end air quote. So I was told by a very strange man at the UFO Congress who beelined for my booth that he claimed, and I don't know if it's true, that Colin was paid a large sum by Lawrence Rockefeller to tell the world that it was fake, and he did it. I believe that's true. And the other famous person in crop circle land, thank you, Lawrence Rockefeller, is Nancy Talbot all these years, who claimed that she works with BLT, Burke, Levengood, and Talbot. And she still flies with the name BLT. But in fact, Levengood expelled Nancy Talbot from his lab in 1998, and Burke didn't work with her any further either. So she's still flying with the name, acting as if Levengood was a dishonest man, and in truth, Lefty and Penny were the ones working together. Nancy was expelled in the last century. So we're really being misled all these years, and very few people have ever really known the real work of William Levengood until he, from the other side, brought me and Penny together. So 3 weeks later, I go to his wake, and I stay at Penny's house. And the very first night, I lay down in her B&B room to go to sleep, and I see Lefty walk through the door. I see the ghost of Lefty with my own eyes, walk through the wooden door, came up to my bed, and I'm pulling the covers up, really breathing heavily. And he said, I saw it, I heard it. I did orchestrate this, and I'm really glad you're here.
That's very powerful. Very powerful.
Very powerful. So I told Penny, and she said, oh yeah, he sometimes, moves dishes around in the kitchen. He's here. So all these years I've been working with Lefty, and he's watched me get hacked. He's watched my distributors be complete disrespectful beasts to me. I mean, it's just been relentless lineup of what I would call really bad behavior by humans. And so Lefty, in his grace from the other side, he finally, in the last few months, brings me this scientist, this guy Ken. And this guy Ken wrote to me 2 years ago. He wrote to me a year ago. And then I finally met him again in person. And I've met him a few times, but I never saw him. There's a difference between meeting people socially and then all of a sudden you have a conversation where you listen. And what he said to me 2 years ago and a year ago, and finally, recently, is, I'm a retired science teacher. I've been working with plants and soil, and I've re-engineered Lefty's, basically a similar technology to William Levengood's plant bring-back and seed bring-back machine. The spinning plasma vortices, this guy also invented his own version of the machine. And he's been testing it on plants and soil all over Colorado for years with great results. So now here's this guy, this scientist, and he comes into my life, and all of a sudden I realize, oh my God, Lefty did this. Lefty brought me the technology because I can't get Penny to come through, get the dang machine out of the lab, and perhaps it went into the wrong hands anyway. So now Lefty brings me a scientist who also made the machine, and now we're bringing it to the public. Not only is this guy an amazing scientist, absolutely brilliant, but he's also my partner now, the man that I'm living with. So here we are. I'm going, oh my God, Lefty is so here. It's unbelievable. So when I went to the wake, at the end of the wake, the people that inherited the property had this room full of all kinds of weird stuff that belonged to William Levengood and his wife, and they were really into horses. So all these little trinkets and stuff, and people would take something. And then at the end, they said, if you want a couple more things, please come back in. So I went in, and I knew that I was editing Crop Circle Diaries. And I knew that I wanted Lefty's energy in my cabin. So I took 3 things. I took a little shot glass, lime green, crystal 1940s with an etched plant around the border. And then I took his smoking pipe. It was a curve of wood with an ivory carved horse. And then I took his bell, a brass bell that had a unicorn with her horn, and gorgeous tone. And I triangulated myself for the entire time I was editing the film with Lefty's toys. So now I move into my new house about 5 weeks ago with my new man, and we're setting up the crystal case. I've got all these crystals, and the shelves broke. A couple of them crashed. So now there's only one shelf in there, and I just stuck in one thing, which was Lefty's lime green 2-inch shot glass from the 1940s with etched plant on it. My boyfriend, that I think Lefty sent me because the guy also has the plant machine, and it works. He sticks his only shot glass in the glass case right next to Lefty's, and they're identical. What are the chances, Dave, that Lefty and my boyfriend have the identical 1940s cut crystal shot glass, except my boyfriend's isn't a plant, it's wheat. Etched wheat. My life is full of magic. I cannot hide. But the coolest thing is we're looking for funding, but when it happens, we've already got electrical engineers working on a machine that the public can use so you don't have to be a scientist and not shock yourself, which is pretty much what they're playing with now. But there's a number of them being worked on with different people, and this is going to work. So we are hoping at cropcirclefilms.com to get some funding from people, farmers, people that want their food supply brought back. This is the technology that William Levengood tried to re-engineer, and he did successfully. And fortunately, the crappie girl, Patty Greer, is also going to be bringing the machine to the public very soon so that we can get farmers to be able to mass produce their food with much better nutritional value. How cool is that?
I think it's fantastic, and there has to be something along those lines that needs to clean up from GMOs and from groups like Monsanto who want to penetrate everything with chemicals. So in order to bring it back, I think it's best for humanity. That's for sure.
Well, we definitely need this technology, and we definitely need people to get access. So, what we need to do is reset the thinking on this planet. What we need to do is start working with the planet herself and learning to respect the communication that we have with her, and also to start listening. And it's one thing to be intuitive or telepathic or a channeler, but what good is it if you don't do something with it? So now, again, this is the greatest solution. This is the punchline of all my films. The guy dies. He gives me all this data. I get taken twice. I'm making movies so fast I can't see straight. No social life whatsoever. I'm editing 15 hours a day. I'm up between 3 and 5 in the morning with these downloads that please let me sleep. Nope. I'm writing, scribbling, and I wake up in the morning with all these notes, and then it just manifests that day. The movies were effortless. It was too easy. But unfortunately, the suppression and the money behind the suppressors has been something that's just an absolute disgrace of humanity, in my opinion, that we wouldn't care enough about our fellow humans to want to bring the food supply back. So Lefty finally just brings the scientist into my life, into my house, and now we've got this. But I want to talk about the level of suppression and the incredible solutions. So I was a speaker at a lot of UFO events for the last 5 years. And last year, I was on stage with the David Wilcock panel. I was the girl, and I got hit in front of thousands of people on camera with an energy weapon. And I jumped out of my chair. And then I got hit again, and I left the stage. And I was pissed. And I got invited again to speak this year. It didn't do anything severe to me that I knew of. I don't think it did. I think I healed. But this year, when I went and spoke again at an event, a big UFO event in the desert in America, this summer, I got hit badly. And so did a number of other people. This is what's happening in ufology today. We have got a very bad group of guys that are coming to these events, and they're hitting people that don't obey with these energy weapons. And I got hit hard. And 2 days later, I was in a wheelchair, Dave. And that has never happened to me. And I am still recovering 6-7 months later, but I'm recovering a lot better than the other people. And the reason, and I want to talk about solutions and miracles, is number one, I have a Rolfer that's fabulous, and I've put myself under his hands repeatedly. But the other thing was, I got this miracle product that is state-of-the-art that nobody's talking about yet because very few people know about it, but this stuff saved me. It's called Carbon 60 Purple Power, and their website is c60purplepower.com. This is an ancient molecule that's now being re-engineered in a lab. Again, it's an ancient technology, but it's soon going to be an advanced technology. It is state-of-the-art healing, and it's going to do away with all kinds of illnesses and diseases and muscle pain. I couldn't walk, and within a day, I was walking. And I take it every day on a spoon, first thing in the morning. It's a molecule mixed with coconut oil, and it's a difficult process. The molecule itself is called carbon 60. It's the shape of a buckyball, like a soccer ball. And interestingly enough, subliminal as they are, in your face, New York Madison Gardens just put up a huge, maybe a few years ago, statue of the carbon 60 molecule in a huge park. It's in your face. Yeah, we know how to cure things, but we're not going to tell you. So this thing is like a piece of art. It's a dang buckyball C60 molecule. So this guy knows I got hit with a weapon and I'm really hurting, gives me a bottle of C60. It's not cheap, small price though if you heal, and bang, shocking. So I've been on it for now 6-7 months and my mind is clear. I mean, everything is different. So now a lot of the shows that I do, the scientist is sending the host a bottle of C60. If we're doing a C60 show, Carbon 60 Purple Power show, he'll send them a bottle, and within a few weeks, the host is different. And you and I were talking about a mutual friend, Alfred Lambermont Weber. We sent him a bottle. I shouldn't say we. I did a show with him, but the scientist sent Alfred a bottle of C60 because he was starting to slack off. He was getting kind of slurring, and he wasn't focused. I did a show with him last week, banged it out of the park. I could not believe the difference in Alfred, and it's very much like the difference in me. I'm calling us the poster boy and the poster girl of Carbon 60, but now that I'm going public about it, number one, people that got hit with energy weapons at these UFO events lately are writing me. We are comparing notes, and this is a dang monster. I'm not going to any more UFO events. I have turned down 3 invitations for next year. I will not put myself out there on stage while it's a shooting gallery of people that don't deserve to be free. So I'm done with that, but I'm doing a lot of radio shows like yours, like Coast to Coast. And the other thing is I'm starting to really promote this product because somewhere between chemtrails, fluoride in the water, GMOs in the food, getting hit with energy weapons, all the crap, the Wi-Fi's everywhere. We need solutions. And the solutions, in my opinion, are, number one, where moldavite, which is a mineral, the highest vibrating frequency on Earth, because it's not of Earth, but you can get it at any crystal store, most crystal stores, moldavite, really high buzzy stone. You want to communicate with ETs? Wear moldavite or carry it. It's like a magnet to communicate with them. I also highly recommend orgonite. And people are building little towers and little orgonite bombs, and you can wear a necklace with orgonite, but I really think they're helping deflect a lot of the Wi-Fi and dirty smart grid frequencies. And the carbon-60, your body hurts, you get on this stuff, you'll be amazed. And like I said, this is the highest purity of any of them, so that's the company I recommend is C60purplepower.com. Really good stuff. And the other things that I suggest are to shut off your TV permanently, stop watching fake news, don't buy memberships to fake UFO information because we are really being misled. And we really need to develop our own inner consciousness to know if we're being told the truth or if we are watching mind-controlled actors that don't even have control of what's coming out of their mouth. And I think that that's what's leading ufology today. And as I look at the list of speakers of all the events coming up next year, it's all the same people working for the very same company. Most of them I don't think have a clue what they're saying anymore. And I think pretty much the field is about 80% mind-controlled. And those of us that didn't join and aren't mind-controlled, better stay away from those events because they're not friendly anymore. But when I realized that people in the audience and volunteers at this event also got hit, my concern is, last year when I got hit, I didn't go down. This year, I went down, but I got back up. I think they're practicing, and I think next year those events are not going to be safe at all. I think they were practicing for something that's going to be really ugly next year, and I'm not going to be at any of those events until this toilet gets flushed and we move on in ufology and get back to some integrity and all new events. We are infiltrated as a field, and it's pretty much destroyed, but it makes me sad because we're not getting the goods. The goods are being hidden, and I am one prime example. And I don't slander anyone. I only say the fact is, my first 4 films that won a ton of awards are locked away in the freezer at Gaia TV. What the heck is that about? When they could have made a fortune. But instead, even today, they're choosing to hide those 4 films from the public for 10 years. We got a problem. Roger that. We got a problem. So I'm hanging in here. I'm not letting go. I'm going to do an awful lot of shows and all these gigs that want me to come speak. Sure, I'd love to on Skype, but I'm not coming out. So please check out my website, check out the films, because they're the real deal if you want to know what's going on in crop circles. And once more, they are not some woo-woo UFO thing. They are really an Earth phenomenon. They're coming out of the Earth intentionally.
Right.
Pictograms, mathematics, binary codes, sacred geometry. All those sacred geometries, stick a pin in the middle, print one up, stick a pin in the middle and spin it. You will see most of them are showing propulsion technologies.
Why are you so adamant that the entire UFO field has been infiltrated that you are now going into reclusiveness from the field?
I got hit.
Well, I understand that you got hit, but there's still some good people out there, do you not think?
Oh, I think there's some wonderful people out there. And I've been backstage for the last 5 years. I know the great people. And what I'm seeing is a lot of those great people are signing on to something that they shouldn't be. And when you see them after they come back from doing what they do to be a part of this big scene, they're not the same person, and they're no longer thinking for themselves. And I've seen way too much of this in the last year to have any chance of doubting that what I'm telling you is true. The field's being wiped. People are being wiped. Speakers are being wiped. And a lot of them are also being given a choice. You either do what we tell you or you will never work in this field again. And people are desperate for money, and they also really want the fame and glory. So, yeah, I'm watching a disaster happen. And I'm watching a lot of people that really want to keep their job even though they know what they're saying is not true. And I respect everyone. I feel bad for people that are about to lose their work like I did. And there's an awful lot of them that this is happening to. And it's kind of like we look at the sheeple that don't even get the Pedogate or the Pizzagate or the Bush, Hillary Clinton, Obama issue. Most of the public has no idea. I think ufology is basically the same. I think we have fallen into the trap of Americans that don't know squat. And we are built on egophology now rather than true ufology. When I started, it was Robert O'Dean. It was Wendell Stevens. It was Dr. Roger Lear. It was the astronauts.
Right.
It was great people. Now, it's actors. I'm sorry, but I'm not impressed anymore. And I love a lot of the people. I love a lot of speakers. And unfortunately, I'm watching a lot of them really lose integrity and their ability to think. So blessed be. I wish everybody well, and I want us to evolve, not devolve. But I also really think that it's important that we get back to honesty, and we've got a ways to go.
Patty, we only got about 5 minutes left with you, and you bring up a very important point, and we have discussed this a few times on this show. You know, the crowd of, you know, the Stanton Friedmans, the Linda Moulton Howes, and the John Lears, and everybody whom you mentioned, they're all getting older, yet there doesn't seem to be anybody, you know, well, there's a few, but not many in that late 20s, 30s, early 40s bracket who are seemingly trying to take over that research from the first wave of true researchers. Do you think that is a plan, or do you think that maybe the younger generation really doesn't care as much as the older generation about getting that information out?
No, I think it's all been co-opted. I think we're being sold a pile of blue-feathered birds and secret space fear. I think that the war in space and the war underground and the war in space and the war underground that these people are pumping out is major fear. And I think that, you know, it could coincide with the perhaps holographic fake invasion. I think it's a really sad thing that's happening, and I'm not playing. But I do actually believe in the evolution of humanity, and I think we're still going to win. And that's why I'm willing to say on the air, I got hit with an energy weapon, and I'm not playing anymore. And I'm also saying to people, I don't know how safe anyone's going to be at these events, because a lot of people got hit this year. And I'm not going to say the name of that event or another one in Washington, but people got hit. And I've spoken with them. It's really scary. The fact that they could blow up a lab. The fact that now people are getting hit in their homes. I mean, again, for me, I'm really focused on it because I'm about solutions. I'm not about going to war with insecure people with shitloads of money. Excuse my language, but it bothers me. Monsanto bothers me that people are intentionally doing things against humanity. So The punchline of something funny that I've come up with lately is that I'm hanging out with the smartest darn people, which I know you do too. Because now that we talk about these things, we can't do the stuck on stupid conversations about the weather and the town. We want to know what's happening. We want to move our brains constantly. So I created a new platform, and I didn't admit it was me until I started dropping shows. And my new platform is called Info Whores. Info Whores.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I've got a YouTube channel. I've dropped 3 shows. I dropped one right before you and I went on the air. My 3rd show I dropped tonight, you're going to love this. I introduced the guy that started Anonymous. I've known him for years. He's finally ready to go public. What a great thing they did. Anonymous, Julian Assange. But nobody knew who started Anonymous. It was my boy Jordan, and he finally went public. My 2nd show is Penny Kelly talking about plasma physics, because this is the new energy form. This is why they're hacking me. When we learn to manipulate and measure plasma, we're going to be able to recreate anything we want without even a 3D printer. We're going to be able to recreate with our minds using spinning plasma technologies. And that's why Crop Circle Diaries is such a threat to someone who dropped $500,000 to hack my films last year. But you can find them on my website, and you can find them on Amazon, and you can find my trailers all over YouTube. Really important movies for evolving times. CropCircleFilms.com. I'll say for the last time, I love what I do. I love the fact that I've been in a ton of crop circles and that I really know and was in the lab that these things are real. And they're absolutely here to communicate with humans and the other dimensionals, and for all of us also to be able to communicate with the earth and the water. We're all in this together, and the sooner we get it, the better off we're going to be.
Patty Greer, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio and bringing your message to us about crop circles and so much more. What a pleasure to have you on the show tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and it's shows like yours that are going to get all this information out. So thank you, Dave Scott.
I hope so. You hold on. I'm going to wrap this up. 2 hours down, 1 hour to go. Our resident scientist, the preacher, Eric Markham, is going to join us for hour number 3. We're going to continue along the lines of crop circles as well. You're listening to Space Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We're going to step away for our final break of the night. The preacher, coming up in hour number 3. Once again, Patty Greer's website, CropCircleFilms.com. Make sure you check it out. We'll be back after this.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
There's stories, then there's the truth. Do any of us really trust the news anymore? This is Jamie Sexton, owner of Rebel Planet News. The 3rd Thursday of every month, I appear on SpacedOutRadio.com to bring you the truth you deserve, without mainstream media lies or alternative media fear-mongering. We'll get to the heart of the story and deliver the truth you are seeking. So come join us here for the Rebel Planet at SpacedOutRadio.com.
We're lighting the void on Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, this is Joe Roop, and I'm hanging out in SOR headquarters every Saturday night, bringing you the latest news when it comes to the weird and strange. Bigfoot, occult, UFOs, ghosts, and everything in between, I got you covered. You can tune in to SpacedOutRadio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Come travel into the void with us on Spaced Out Saturdays.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries, so tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
There's a lot of strange going on in this world, and we can help you find out what's going on with you. Paranormal, cryptids, UFOs in the sky, aliens in your bedroom tickling your toes. We have the investigators you need to find out the answers you deserve. All you have to do is head to spacedoutradio.com. Your information is 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report. It's free, and we're here to help.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, we will be joined by the owner of the Stardust Ranch, John Edmonds. John Edmonds with the Alien Ranch down in Arizona. We're going to find out what's happening down there and if he's had any bites on his for sale sign where he's looking for $5 million for his Alien Ranch. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, maybe at spacedoutradio.com. If not, definitely on Spreaker or one of our affiliates, which we'll name off. Our site is still being rebuilt from the hacking last week, so please bear with us. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Newnan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Great to have you with us. We're also live on the Fringe.fm, Renegade Talk Radio to Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tragimetopaulist. Tragimetopaulist is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night, right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you could do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with me during the show as well. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott SOR. We have a brand new YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio for our archives. You can also listen to us on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live, tune us in on TuneIn, download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website, when it's up and running, is spacedoutradio.com, where we usually have a plethora of features for you. However, right now, not so many features due to the hacking. We bring in our resident scientist, Eric Markham, the preacher, as he's known around here. We go over everything that is scientific when it comes to the weird, the strange, and the odd. Preacher, welcome back.
Thanks for having me on, Dave.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Before we get into it, I do want to say thank you to a number of people here. As you know, we, as of a few days ago, started a GoFundMe account. And we are trying to raise money in order to improve our technology. And so that way we can give Amy the reins and start getting some much needed technology here so we can start picking up some terrestrial radio stations because we have had some interest. So sheepishly, I decided last week that it was the only way we could be able to do it by starting a GoFundMe account. Now, I want to say thank you to everybody who has absolutely donated so far. It's blown my mind. We're over 10% to our goal of 5,000 Canadian dollars. Every single penny will go towards this show in helping us increase the technology. And one of the things that I promise is to make sure I give a shout out to the people who have helped us out financially. And I want to say a big hearty thank you to Teresa, Les, Keith, Gloria, Carrie, Gail, and Johnny for helping us out at this time, to help us get a little bit closer to our goal. And I do want to remind everybody, you can go to GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. That's GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. And once again, I'm not doing this for myself. I am doing this strictly to help this show grow and give everybody out there an easier way to listen, because I really believe that we can turn this into a terrestrial market show, whether it's up here in Canada or down there in the United States. We have had a number of program directors take a listen to this show. They love the show. They love the fact that there is live nighttime entertainment. However, where we're struggling right now with them is the fact that we need to be able to bring more of a radio sound, not an internet radio, a real true radio sound. So every dollar that we raise through this will 100% be put into the technology that we need to improve the sound of this show. So I realize it's Christmas. I realize it's bad timing for a lot of people. However, unfortunately, business does not worry about the calendar. And unfortunately, our time in order to start making this run is here in December. So I do want to say thank you to everybody who has jumped on board. And I want to say, it's very heartfelt. Everybody who listens to this show, whether you're listening at home, whether you're listening, in one of the chat rooms or on Twitter and taking part, it's a very humbling experience to see the love and the support that everybody is giving this show. It's very, very productive. And even for people who maybe don't have $1 to donate, and I know there's a number of you in that situation because you have talked to me and you have told me, you taking the time to share this post or to share this show or to share the GoFundMe page, that does wonders too. That does a lot. I had a friend of mine today out of Toronto. He said, Dave, I can't afford it right now. Work is pretty slow, but I hope you don't mind. I shared it to my 5,800 Twitter followers. That was wonderful. That was absolutely wonderful. And, it's something that I am very, very thankful of. I'm a humble guy. For those of you who have met me, you've probably noticed that. I'm not trying to be that guy who's going to pocket this, because really anything extra, geez, I'll just turn over to a local charity or something like that. But I can tell you, everything that we are going to be doing is going to be for the benefit of this show in helping us grow and create more of a radio sound that terrestrial radio stations want. So thank you so much. Once again, it's GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. And I really appreciate everybody doing that. Thank you. Hey, Preacher.
Hey.
How you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
We survived our first big 2-inch snowfall, and when
oh my goodness, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I haven't been to the store to see if there's any bread or milk left, but yeah, we had snow hit during the weekend, and the Piedmont went into full snow panic alert.
Really?
Yeah. Having grown up in Michigan, if it wasn't 6 feet, we didn't really worry about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the same thing as up here, where down in if you live near Vancouver, you get a couple of inches of snow. They are literally shutting everything down. Up here, you get a couple of inches of snow, people are laughing. People are still driving. It's all hell breaking loose if it hits near Vancouver. 2 inches of snow. Literally, I've seen it. But up here, oh, it's nothing. They don't shut down the schools here until it gets to -40. -40, which is -40 Fahrenheit. Somehow the two equate. That's when they shut down the schools. I haven't been in that temperature yet. I hope I never get in that temperature. That's damn cold.
I don't remember them ever closing school for temperature where I grew up. And the superintendent of schools, if a teacher said that they couldn't get in, he had I think it was a Suburban. It was some kind of, 4-wheel drive monster truck back in the day. He would go to that teacher's house and bring them to school, and he would dock them he would dock their salary for the hour however many hours they missed. It was a total jackwagon. But yeah, I mean, I grew up with that. You'd go to bed and it'd be a blizzard, and you set your alarm because you knew full well you was going to go to school the next day.
Well, you know what? I'm glad I don't have to worry about that. I think the coldest it ever got in my area when I was going to school, it got to like minus 20, and there was like 2 feet of snow, and they shut down the schools for like 2 weeks. They didn't know what to do. The buses couldn't run, because down in the lower mainland of Vancouver area, nobody knows what chains are. Nobody knows what anything is, But minus 40 is cold. The coldest I was in was last year. It got to minus 36 here. That was cold. Pardon me, I'm being corrected. Minus 30, they shut down the schools here. Minus 30. Thank you, Corey. Not minus 40. Minus 30. But last year it got to minus 36. That's the coldest I've ever been in. It was freezing. Freezing. Like, literally, you go outside, and within seconds, like, I'd go outside into my carport to grab some firewood, and within seconds, your fingers and your face and everything is hurting on you. That's not fun. That is not fun at all.
Yeah, it used to get pretty cold up in Michigan, but with, the wind would be, that's where, when the wind chill hit, that's what really made it dangerous, because it might only be, 12, 13 below, and then the wind out of the out of the northeast would hit, and whoo. That was like, if you spit, it was frozen before it hit the ground, so it was that cold.
I do want to do that boiling water test where you see a bunch of people, they'll take pots full of boiling water, and then when it's really cold, they'll throw it up in the air, and it'll come down as snow. I do want to try that out. I am going to try that out.
That would be fun.
I'm going to try it out this year just to see if it actually works. I'm pretty sure it does, but definitely going to try that out. So, crop circles. Crop circles, my friend. What do you think? Alien-made, man-made, Mother Earth-made, as Patty Greer tends to think? What's your opinion?
I am extremely skeptical about any non-human origin to crop circles. And the problem I have with a lot of crop circle, so-called experts is they pad their data and they overstate it so much. In a lot of cases, I've watched several documentaries, and, they push it right past the credibility mark. They are so, I don't know, I think it's graphic arts designers getting their work out in a grand way.
I don't know. I mean, the way some of those shapes and sizes, Eric, of these, I mean, it would take people days, if not weeks, in order to complete some of these. And, we don't have pilots flying over seeing them. And then next thing you know, they fly back and there they are. I mean, to be that precise with a lot of the directions and the angles and everything being so mathematically equal, I don't know if that could be done by humans without taking time. And if you believe Patty or Nancy Talbot, who's been on this show before, these things are happening within hours, if not minutes.
I don't know. I've seen a couple setups where a team of people who've done, they've practiced this. Everybody knows what their role is, can go into a field, set their marks up, get their part of it done within minutes, and then they all leave. And one of the problems I have with a lot of these crop circles is you can see where there's a track, a path leading out to where the the crop circle is, and then you'll see a footpath going out. Yeah, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be studied, because I have seen some pseudoscience done about them, but I'd like to see a real study done just to put it to rest once and for all, if nothing else. But yeah, I'm very, very skeptical about crop circles being anything other than a bunch of really good graphic artists getting together in an organized fashion and using a wheat field as a spirograph set.
You're getting in hell from Johnny Connor in the Spreaker chat room. He says, really? Humans cannot reproduce all the phenomena that are associated with some of these huge, intricate crop circles. Do your homework, Markham. And you got an eye wink.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Johnny. I have done my homework, and yes, there is nothing that's been in one of those crop circles that... And I'm not saying that a bunch of drunks out of a pub are going to do this. It's going to take the kind of precision you see like with a precision drill team. If you see a marching band or a military drill team, look at how precise their movements are and what they're doing. You can't tell me that the same thing can't be done in a graphic fashion in a wheat field.
But how many people though, Eric, would it take to do that? How many people?
I think the one I saw, I think they had, I think it was about a dozen of them. I haven't seen this for a long time, because basically about 5 years ago when they debunked the one where the orbs were, they showed the crop circle being made by orbs, and then when they disassembled it, showed how the picture had been taken, rewound, started from scratch, and then the orb superimposed on it. Back when they debunked that the first time, I felt like my study of crop circles was pretty much over. And the fact that they only seem to show up at a certain time of year in a certain area, I just feel like, the American Midwest, there's a huge, the open prairies where they do all that wheat farming and corn farming, Kansas. If you want a palette and you want to make, draw attention, you could do a crop circle that was hundreds, thousands of acres in size out there. And yet they never do. It's always that one little area over in England. Once in a while, I think there's been a few reported in the U.S., but not to the extent that you see in England. And it just reeks of hoax to me. My BS meter needle is pegged when it comes to crop circles.
I could go so many directions with that comment there. But the whole point is, though, and I agree with you, okay? I do believe that there is, something going on where there are people doing it. I'm not saying that there isn't, okay? I'm not sitting here saying that all of them are made. I mean, you look, when the movie Signs came out, what I would say is you have a lot of people out there who were being copycats wanting to do that. In my hometown, where I was living at the time, within a couple of days of that movie Signs coming out, in one of the cornfields, there was a very crudely made crop circle in the area. And, it was just like a couple of big boxes, big squares and a rectangle. It was just the strangest looking thing. But, some of the intricacies and the art that goes into this, we either have a hidden team, mainly in England, that is like a secret society that is creating these, or we have something phenomenal going on. I'm just not sure which one it is, because for a lot of people, there are a lot of clues out there. Take away the footprints. Why isn't the corn or the wheat snapped? When they have proven the ones that are hoaxes, there always are broken ears of corn or strands of corn and wheat. That's a big one. That's a big one.
But I've yet to actually see a documentary. For me, I'm not going to believe that they're not hoaxes until a field that was empty and monitored. And that's another thing. It seems like we would be able to have some kind of predictability where these things are going to show up. And if not, why not? And there's too much of this, the seriologist stuff is, at best, hearsay. At worst, I think it's deliberately manufactured as a deception. I mean, there's people who will do anything to have their fame and avoid working for a living. What better way of doing that than becoming, a crop circle expert? I don't know. The whole crop circle thing is, I am probably beyond cynical on that, and I apologize, but hey, as SOR's token scientist, that's my job.
No, and I agree with you. However, I think, and I don't mean this to be insulting, but I think you're being a little naive here. I really do. I think you're being naive. I mean, the nodes of the wheat being stretched, not broken, areas being recorded for magnetization. The way that wheat,
who's supplying that data? It is not
researchers.
An impartial team. Yeah, but they're not impartial. They're going in there with the idea that this is a phenomenon that they are going to, they are already preset with a to see.
Yeah, but you're
what they
preset.
want to see.
You're preset right now. You're being preset.
That's true. The difference is I would go in there and let the data. I wouldn't, when you watch these people, see how they massage the data, see how they push things, and they will make blanket statements, well, nothing else causes this to happen. There are plant diseases that cause those nodes to happen. There are other environmental factors, the way that a plant will sequester water in it. There's other ways this can happen that they don't account for. And that's what blows their credibility with me. I'm not saying 100% that I am convinced that crop circles are all man-made. But I am saying that until a real team of unbiased scientists go out there, not a team of crop circle enthusiasts, I'm not going to give it their research much credence, just because they're going into it with a they know what answer they want to find, and they're trying to make the data fit.
Yes, but isn't that today's society, though, with absolutely everything? That, I mean, we have people who are saying that, that pollution isn't real, that the ozone layer isn't broken, that there isn't a giant hole up there. We have people who don't believe that the environment is in trouble. I mean, information is being skewed to the left and to the right everywhere about every topic these days.
Yeah, and that's what that's one of the things I discovered trying to find news articles for Spaced Out Radio. You can be on the lead of something that sounds credible, and as you peel back the different layers, you get to where there is no hard and true fact behind it. It was just a good story that a lot of times it was almost like an urban myth. You can see how urban myths get started by the way the news is twisted and perverted. You can put spin on anything.
Okay, I'll give you that. However, how about a lot of these crop circles being absolutely symmetrically calculated so that way they are absolutely equal around the same area? How do you define the mathematical stance on this?
That would be simple geometry. I mean, you can take a crop circle out, and with a compass and a ruler, you can figure out what the arcs, the tangents, it's all based on geometry. And I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not saying that a bunch of barroom drunks are doing this. I'm saying that a group of people with an extremely adept precision at how, they're going into this field and they're laying this thing out with a precision and a geometry that is beyond what the normal person's going to have. I think it's probably a bunch of Mensa people that get bored and they do this to, some of the more intricate ones just to see if they can pull it off. I mean, there's actually been a few, and they're a little hard to find, but there's been a few people that have actually got caught leaving the field after they did the crop circle. Something gave them away. And, you'll see, Brighton police, catch crop circle makers or, so they're both out there. And, I'm seeing the comments here too, way too perfect. How they go out there and they measure with the same kind of devices that the layout people do. And not to mention, you can get laser precision layout devices now for next to nothing. A couple $100 and you could set a transit level or a laser transit in the middle of your formation, and you could lay out your lines with laser precision. And a lot of times, like they're saying, way too precise. Well, I see them measuring, and they're using the same tape measures that the people that perpetrated the hoax did. I just, if you want to believe in them, hey, that's fine. Believe in them. I choose not to. I have to have a lot more. I'm going to have a lot more insight on the actual. I guess I'd have to go there and see it myself before I'm ever really going to give it much credence. But I will say this: there is a tradition in England, or what would become England, of fairy circles happening where a crop or a field would have these patterns show up in it. Not to the extent and the precision and the geometry that you see now, but they actually, they're as far back as recorded history in the Emerald Isles begins. There's an idea, and they used to blame them on the Fae. It was an entrance into the fairy realm there. It just got a little more high tech, I guess, as we evolved.
Muji Boy on Twitter makes a good comment. He says, why don't we ever see forest circles too? Crops sure are easy for humans to manipulate. And I think that's a correct statement to make. I do believe that's a correct statement to make. However, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here for a second. And we can do that because we're across the border here. I do think there is something supernatural to some of these. Whether they're some sort of navigation, whether they're some sort of physics or mathematical equation, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm just a radio show guy who wears a tinfoil hat sometimes. But I don't believe that with the pinpoint accuracy that some of these are having, I don't believe that they are man-made at all, especially when you look at some of them up close where they've taken photos. And a lot of the wheat or the corn, the strands almost look braided. And I think it's those braided strands, Preacher, that I can't see a human doing.
Okay, braided strands. I'm going to have to look into that. Braiding strands in crop circles. But who is presenting that data? Is, whenever you see something that has this sense of sensationalism to it, who and how, when did this start happening? Because I remember when the first, I've been around a long time, and I remember when the crop circle thing first started hitting. Everything was, what they were observing is all the stalks are laying down the same direction. And it seems that as more people began to get involved in this, now there's this detail. Now there's the details seem to have been evolving over time. And still a lot of people, mainstream, don't take crop circles seriously. So now we've got, braided wheat inside it just seems like the evidence keeps evolving to make it more sensational.
Yeah, but you could say the exact same thing about UFOs, yet your opinion is much different on UFOs.
Well, UFOs were not saying anything other than, I have seen something flying in the sky that does not behave like a conventional aircraft. I've seen the dot that runs across the sky. It would have to be thousands of miles an hour, stops, or, does a complete right angle, stops, takes off in another direction like a bat out of, I've seen that. But I'm not saying, that's an ET craft. I'm just saying I have seen a UFO. I have seen an unidentified flying object on more than one occasion. It sure wasn't anything conventional as far as the physics and what we know as, the public, what the Air Force has as an aircraft. It wasn't a dark project, human-made something, but it sure wasn't behaving along the lines of conventional aircraft. But there's a difference between that and saying these crop circles are the work of I never hear anybody on a crop circle ever, the crop circle camp is always, it's Mother Earth trying to communicate with us, it's ETs trying to communicate with us, it's something inside the Earth trying to communicate with us. And it's like any other explanation is dismissed because it doesn't fit the religious paradigm. And, this is almost a religion with these people. They put as much of their passion and their heart into it as any devout Catholic would Sunday Mass.
I get that, and I can appreciate that. But, you can't just shoot down the experiences that people are having, whether it's with crop circles, farmers in the middle of nowhere, Saskatchewan, where you can see your dog running for miles, let alone people walking around, and these crop circles coming out of nowhere. I think what you have to do, preacher, is you have to look at the locations. How easily accessible are they to people? Now, I will say this, I'm not a believer in what Patty Greer says. To me, that doesn't make sense, that it comes from the ground and Mother Earth is creating them. To me, that sounds very far-fetched, but that's my opinion. That isn't me, reneging on her research. She's obviously more, up to date in her research with this and way ahead of where I will ever be. I'm not even in kindergarten on this subject, and she's already, through college. But the whole point that I'm saying is, it does sound far-fetched to me. I can see UFOs doing this as maybe a navigation mark, or something along those lines, right? So, I don't see it being as far-fetched And maybe I'm not as skeptical as what you're being with this.
Well, when I look at it, I don't see anything, and I've got this whole page of crop circles out in front of me. I don't see anything alien about them. The shapes, the geometry, I mean, some of them have almost like a Greek, a Greek or a cuneiform. I don't see anything alien about the way they're laid out. Nothing strikes me. I mean, one's even got a yin and a yang symbol.
Well, I mean, obviously,
as a Taoist, I'm all for the Space Brothers being Taoists, okay? But still, I don't see nothing that I see in any of these crop circles strikes me as beyond our geometry. And I would think if an advanced race was laying these things down, the elements, the overall composition would be alien. There's just not, there'd be something there. It's like, whoa, what, you would see it and say, I've never seen it, a shape, a geometry, a form. But everything in these circles seems to follow standard, poor mundane Earth geometry, Earth, symbology.
You're not hopeful enough. You know that? You're not hopeful enough. Aliens, man.
Oh, I'd like to be wrong.
Aliens. With me, it's always aliens.
Well, here again, if the aliens have monitored, if they understand us so well, and they are, they apparently monitor our broadcasts. If you listen to some of our guests, they're like Santa Claus. They see, they see us 24/7, whether we're good or bad. I would think that they had picked up, English, Spanish, our lettering system. And if they really wanted to communicate with us, they could write it out in plain language. Hello from the stars, or, get this graphic stuff wouldn't necessarily be the way that I would foresee them trying to communicate. Because nobody, how many years has this been going on, and nobody's getting it. Nobody's decoded this stuff, and there doesn't seem to be a common theme. If they're trying to communicate with us, what do you do when you're talking to somebody and they don't understand what you just told them? You repeat yourself. And sometimes when you're talking to somebody, you have to repeat yourself more than once. This seems to be all random, and I'm not saying it's not beautiful, but we're not getting the message, and they're not repeating it.
I will disagree with you on this point that, Mr. John Alien knows how to speak English. I'm going to disagree with you.
I would think they've got to have some kind of understanding just because of the way they monitor our communications. So they're, if you believe some of our guests, they monitor our communication. They interact with people. They've got to have picked up some language skills to do that, don't they?
Yes, I can see that, but doesn't mean they're able to pronounce it. I've heard Japanese before. I can't speak it.
When you don't understand enough to communicate, a basic idea. If I was in Japan, I would not be able to tell somebody anything beyond a basic, pointing to my belly and, a plate or something, the beyond basic sign language. But if you go with what the contactees and the abductees say, they're getting advanced concepts passed on to them. They're hearing communications, even if it's in their head, in English or their native language. So somebody up there understands enough Earth dialects to get a point across, is what I'm saying. Even if all they put down was a basic, like Dick Janen's tally, C-spot run type of thing to get it started, I would think that the approach would be, I'd have more faith in crop circles being communications if they actually seem to communicate anything.
Like, what do you expect them to do, though? Right out on the wheat field, hey, Phil, we're heading in this way, with a big arrow?
Be here 10 p.m., 12/22/2017. You want to commit? You know, how hard would that be? You know, even if you go with what some of our Keith Andrews says, they understand enough that they could be putting they wanted to communicate and they wanted to disclose themselves. If nothing else, they would put a date down, like 12/13/2017. They understand the numbers. Everybody looks at these a lot of the crop circle enthusiasts say, oh my God, such advanced mathematics and blah, blah, blah. Well, yes, that's true. But it's all based on 1 + 1 = 2. Advanced math, you go back far enough and it's, so they've got to have, what I'm saying is they don't have the advanced knowledge and not have the fundamentals of math. So I would think they know they're trying to communicate with a more primitive people. They would use fundamentals, like even if it was binary, they would use some kind of fundamental, easily deciphered method.
Joe wants to know, what about the exploded growth nodes on the crops that have been found?
Well, I've seen some of that. I've seen the looks of some of those, and they look like some of them look like plant diseases. We used to see exploded nodes on the wheat fields and the oats up in Michigan, and it was a lot of it was climatological. If they got too much rain in a short period of time, you would get exploded nodes. I mean, there's other explanations for exploded nodes. And that's one of the things that gripes me about crop circle enthusiasts. They're disingenuous because they will say, well, the only way this could have happened would have been, and it's like, no, that's not the only way that could have happened. That's not the only way it does happen. And I would think, I just think they go too far. There might be some real truth out there in what they're saying and what they're presenting. But the way they're doing it, they're padding it so badly that, a scientist like me is looking at it and saying, well, if you're afraid to let the data speak for itself to the point that you have to pad it and misrepresent it, kind of makes me wonder if your thesis isn't flawed to start with.
All right, moving on, because tomorrow we have a very interesting guest on the show. We have John Edmonds coming on, who owns the Stardust Ranch in Arizona. He's got it for sale for $5 million. He is lived on the property, which is a horse rescue. I think it is a noble cause. It's a horse rescue. But for the last 17 years he's owned it, the damn aliens keep coming around. These Greys keep bugging him. Would you sell a house or a ranch that had that much alien activity?
No. I would make it into an attraction. I would be... I'd have, why sell it for $5 million? He could make millions beyond that, tens of millions. turn that in. If you have something that reliable, I mean, market the heck out of it. Yeah, like Trippin said, he should rent out cabins. No kidding.
Well, maybe he's tired. Maybe he's tired of it because, he did say, and we'll get into it tomorrow night, that he has killed one gray. But I'm surprised that somebody like Robert Bigelow, who jumped all over buying the Skinwalker Ranch, I'm surprised that he hasn't jumped on this place if the happenings are so true.
Yeah, it kind of does make you wonder, like, is this guy just trying to come up with his own version of it, or is it a scam? Does he really see these things? Yeah, and like Tessa's saying, where's the body? If he's got a dead gray, he ought to be...
All the Twitter followers now at hashtag Spaced Out Radio are, where's the proof? Show me the proof. Right. A-hole skeptic will say, where's the scat? I need the scat. Because he's like addicted to the scat or something like that. Self-admitted as well. But the whole point that I'm getting at is... I think, there are these regions. I mean, we look at James Gilliland's ECETI Ranch in Washington State. We look at the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. I think there could be something here. I really do. Maybe it's the energy. I'm not a big believer in this whole ley lines thing. I could be totally wrong. It just sounds hokey to me. That's on a personal level. But maybe there is something to it where certain properties with certain people who own them are having those types of experiences. So I'm very interested in learning tomorrow night of whether or not, this is really happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I would think that somebody who had that kind of, outlet, that kind of source for the knowledge, would be wanting to get people out there to validate. Get a research team out there. Get MUFON. Get whatever group you like to do that kind of research out there and research the heck out of it. Have acres of cameras pointed at the skies. Have some radar, radio antennas pointed up there. What drives me kind of crazy. Go ahead.
Would you do it, though, Preacher? Would you, if you had, let's say you had James Gilliland's ECETI Ranch, okay, where there's a lot of weird things that happen, and they've had multiple people go in there and have multiple experiences, from Bigfoot to UFOs to aliens to gnomes, whatever it could be, he's had it happen there. And multiple people have gone there and had those experiences. But the point that I'm saying is, if you had a ranch or something along those lines, knowing the way people are in this community, would you open it up to it? I don't know if I would.
I think I would in a controlled manner. But one of the things about these ranches and these sites that always strikes me is nobody ever comes out, nobody ever goes in with a professional camera team. And I mean a pro, like National Geographic, Smithsonian style camera team. And and if they do, they never capture anything. It's always the amateur with the handheld smartphone. You never get the pro, 80 millimeter film, IMAX team that ever catches anything. So that kind of tends to make me think that there's a hoax being perpetrated.
Okay, so let's use the cost of bringing out an IMAX team or a National Geographic team or something along those lines. The cost would be absolutely substantial. And they couldn't afford to put in the time. And it's not like these people, whether it's James Gilliland or John Edmonds, can predict when things are going to happen. I mean, look how many people have brought cameras out to the Skinwalker Ranch and got nothing. Nothing. Yet we have government officials and police and law enforcement going out there saying, yeah, we're not going back on that property, ever.
Here's something to think about. Smithsonian Magazine is probably on its last legs. National Geographic now is about this, is about the thickness of a sales pamphlet. What would it mean to either one of these organizations to go out there with a film crew and capture the definitive smoking gun evidence? What would that do to their circulation? What did that do to their credibility? They wouldn't have to worry about paying their bills for the rest of the millennium. And if there was something, I just feel like if there was something to it, something tangible, somebody would go out there. A lot of those articles and those documentaries are done by a film crew, and they hope to sell it to Geographic, or they hope to sell it to Smithsonian after it's done. And I haven't seen a team go out there to try that.
Okay. James Gilliland has had multiple television crews go out to the ranch.
Okay. Did they ever catch anything that wasn't wobbly, wavery, or otherwise, they never caught anything smoking gun?
Well, if you watch the Paranormal State version of that, whether or not they were hoaxing that show at that time or not, they seem to catch some pretty cool things.
But they never catch definitive. I mean, they never catch the skinwalker turning from a humanoid form to a wolf form. You have anecdotal evidence, I saw it happen, but nobody ever catches that. And I would feel, and TV news crew doesn't necessarily have to be all pros. I know some TV news crews that, they're fresh out of school, they're passionate, they love what they're doing, but they're by no means a seasoned team. I'm saying, let's get some of the people that shoot the IMAX movies, that go out and shoot the nature documentary where they're out in the jungle for, a year and a half. Let's apply that kind of dedication, that kind of equipment to one of these ranches and see what they come back with.
Maybe you and me need to road trip this thing, man. We need to road trip this thing.
I'm for it.
Let me get the GoFundMe thing going first.
Okay.
Once the GoFundMe thing is going and we hit our goal, then we'll concentrate on getting down to the East-Eddy Ranch and maybe going to Stardust Ranch. I think that's what we need to do.
Hey, I'm all for it.
I can tell you this, though. As an experiencer, I am a little freaked out. I don't think I would want to go to Skinwalker Ranch. Just something about that just scares me.
Well, anytime you're dealing with skinwalkers, there's a possibility of that evil, that negative entity. I mean, our own Elizabeth Anglin took me to an area where she had, if the experience she had is legit, that was a freaky place. That was a very scary place to have a skinwalker come after you.
I agree, my friend.
So, yeah.
Well, Preacher, that is our hour done, my friend. Thank you so much for hopping on in. Our resident scientist, Eric Markham, on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Always a pleasure, Preacher.
Always a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
Oh, no problem. You hold on. I'm going to wrap this thing up. We got Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of SOR, rocking us in and out of every single show. We want to say thank you to Patty Greer, who came on in to Space Out Radio for the first time, taking up the first 2 hours talking about crop circles, and then our resident scientist, Eric Markham, hopping on for hour number 3 to continue the discussion on a scientific level. Tomorrow night on the program, we take a look at the Stardust Ranch, the alien ranch out of Arizona. John Edmonds, the owner of that ranch, is going to join us. Did he really kill an alien gray? We'll find out tomorrow night starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Please check our social media. We will let you know if our website is back up in time for tomorrow night's show. Also, do not forget our GoFundMe page, GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. GoFundMe.com/We Own the Night. We're raising money to improve our studio so that way we can start shopping this store and this show to more terrestrial radio stations. We're doing it for you. We need to grow. We want to grow. It's all in your hands. But mainly, I want to say thank you to our great listeners, whether you're at home, in your vehicle, at work, on any of the networks that broadcast us, on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio, in the SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook, or on Spreaker. Thank you so much for doing what you do. Thank you so much for sharing this show, getting it out there. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR, and on YouTube, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio for our archives. Because together, my friends, we own the night. I'm heading to Discord, see what people are doing, chatting there after the show. Maybe you want to join us. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Talk to you in 21 hours. Good night.